We are anonymous. No faces, no handlers, no permission slips. We exist because when power speaks recklessly, when history is twisted into propaganda, and when accountability is treated as optional, someone has to slow the moment down and tell the truth plainly. What you are about to hear is not satire, not exaggeration, and not speculation. It is a deeper examination of how a single White House press briefing exposed something much larger, an administration that treats allies as props, the Constitution as an inconvenience, and the public as something to be managed rather than respected. This story did not begin with a crisis meeting or a diplomatic cable. It began with words, casual words, arrogant words, words spoken from the White House podium by a press secretary acting as if history, law, and international relations were all secondary to pleasing one man. Another day in the Trump White House, another manufactured controversy. But this time the blast radius reached across the Atlantic. France, one of America's oldest allies, found itself dragged into a political food fight not because of policy, not because of strategy, but because Donald Trump's administration cannot resist turning everything into a loyalty test. A French member of parliament, Raphael Glucksmann, spoke at a rally and criticized Trump-style politics spreading into Europe.
Let's make sure we never, ever let the Trump and Musk fan club into our country. Give us back the Statue of Liberty. We gave it to you as a gift, but apparently you despise it.
It was not a legal demand. It was not a serious diplomatic proposal. It was rhetoric, a metaphor, a way of saying that America, under Trump, no longer reflects the values it claims to represent. A normal White House would have brushed it aside. A competent administration would have laughed, shrugged, or quietly reaffirmed its commitment to shared democratic values. But this is not a normal White House. This is a Trump White House, and in a Trump White House, every perceived slight must be answered with aggression. So when Fox News brought the comment into the briefing room, the trap was already set. The question itself was absurd on its face. Is President Trump going to send the Statue of Liberty back to France? It was bait.
From France, who does not think the U.S. represents the values of the Statue of Liberty anymore. They want the Statue of Liberty back. So is President Trump going to send the Statue of Liberty back to France?
Absolutely not. And my advice to that unnamed low-level French politician would be to remind them that it's only because of the United States of America that the French are not speaking German right now. So they should be very grateful to our great country.
It revealed a worldview where history is a weapon, not a shared memory, where alliances are treated like debts to be collected, where gratitude is demanded, not earned. The reaction was swift because the insult was real. Diplomats, historians, veterans, and ordinary citizens understood immediately what had just happened. This was not tough talk. It was ignorance wrapped in bravado. Former ambassadors pointed out the obvious. Without France, there is no United States as we know it. Without French money, French weapons, French officers, and French soldiers, the American Revolution very likely fails. That is not anti-American to say. It is American history. And yet this administration seems determined to erase anything that complicates its preferred narrative of dominance. In Trump's world, America never needed help. America never owed anyone anything. America only wins alone, and everyone else exists to applaud or submit. That mindset is not strength. It is insecurity. The internet did what institutions often fail to do under Trump. It corrected the record. Community notes appeared, laying out basic facts that any high school student used to learn. France was instrumental in America's independence. France paid a heavy price for that support. France did not act out of charity. It acted out of strategy and shared interest. That is how alliances work. But alliances require respect, and respect is something the Trump administration has shown little interest in maintaining. This incident did not exist in isolation. It was not a one-off mistake by a young press secretary having a bad day. It was part of a pattern of contempt for expertise, a pattern of hostility toward allies, a pattern of casual dishonesty delivered with absolute confidence. At that very same briefing, Caroline Leavitt described the Department of Justice as an institution that should focus on fighting law and order.
An institution that focuses on fighting law and order.
Not defending it, fighting it. A slip of the tongue, perhaps, or perhaps a Freudian one, because this administration has made clear again and again that law is something to be battled when it gets in the way. Courts are obstacles. Judges are enemies. And the Constitution is something to be waved around selectively, not respected consistently. Days earlier, Levitt had attacked a federal court injunction blocking Trump's deportation actions.
And it is, for anybody who has a basic understanding of the law. You cannot have a low-level district court judge filing an injunction to usurp the executive authority of the President of the United States.
That claim was wrong, not debatable. Wrong. The entire American system rests on the idea that no one, not even the president, is above the law. Courts exist precisely to check executive power. Injunctions are not loopholes. They are safeguards. In the case at hand, the judge ruled that deportations violated basic due process. The appropriate response in a constitutional system is appeal, not defiance, not ridicule, not public attacks on the legitimacy of the judiciary. Yet Levitt spoke as if ignoring court orders were a viable option, as if compliance were optional, as if the White House could simply decide which laws apply and which do not. That is not conservatism. That is not patriotism. That is authoritarianism. Even voices on Fox News, long loyal to Trump, have begun to sound alarmed, not because they oppose Trump ideologically, but because they understand the danger of normalizing contempt for the courts. Once that line is crossed, there is no easy way back. Levitt's struggles have not been limited to the briefing room. Her television appearances reveal the same pattern: confident assertions disconnected from reality, talking points delivered without comprehension, and visible discomfort when challenged with facts. When she claimed automakers love Trump's tariffs, industry groups immediately contradicted her. When Fox hosts pressed her on the economic consequences, she retreated into vague slogans about restoring American greatness.
Policy Council has put out a statement sort of pushing back on this narrative. They said revoking the exemption for Canada and Mexico and extending tariffs to auto parts with steel and aluminum will add significant costs for automakers, suppliers, and consumers. You know, steel and aluminum tariffs obviously could have big impacts. Is it time for the president to do an Oval Office address maybe and try to explain to people that it might be bad for a little while, but it is in fact worth it?
I think the president has been incredibly clear, Jackie, on where he stands and what he envisions for the future of America.
Trump's tariff strategy is not a plan. It is a threat. It creates uncertainty, and uncertainty freezes investment. That is why manufacturing growth, that peaked before Trump's return, has begun to slow. That is why businesses hesitate. That is why workers feel anxious. Facts do not bend to press releases. But in this administration, facts are treated as optional inconveniences. And all of this circles back to one man, Donald Trump. Caroline Levitt did not invent this culture. She did not design this approach. She is a product of it. Trump rewards loyalty above all else. Not competence, not knowledge, not judgment. Loyalty. Say what he wants. Defend him at all costs. Attack whoever he points at. That is the job. And so Levitt attacks France. She attacks judges. She attacks reality itself, because that is what the role demands. But the damage does not stay contained. When the White House insults allies, it weakens American credibility abroad. When it undermines courts, it weakens democracy at home. When it lies about the economy, it leaves working people unprepared for real consequences. This administration is not just loud, it is reckless. Nowhere is that recklessness more apparent than in its approach to Social Security.
Trying to crater this agency, and that they are driving it to a total system collapse that is going to happen a lot sooner rather than later. I believe they're trying to break it so that they can then turn the public against it and say, look, it didn't work. And then that allows them to then privatize it and liquidate it. In other words, the very sort of people that pick over the wreckage of a company after they drive it into the ground and figure out how they can sell off pieces of it. This is not a group of people that want to make Social Security work better.
Which is most of the federal spending is entitlements. That's like the big one to eliminate. Is that's the sort of $500 billion, maybe $700 billion a year.
These are not neutral technocrats. These are people who make money by dismantling institutions and selling off the pieces. The strategy is familiar. Undermine confidence. Starve the system. Create dysfunction. We are anonymous. We are not here to entertain. We are not here to flatter. If this story angers you, good. Anger is a sign that you are paying attention. If it worries you, that means you understand what is at stake. Speak, comment, share, question what you are told. Because democracies do not collapse all at once. They erode, one reckless statement at a time, and silence is the only thing this administration truly depends on.